He was just another face on the street, sleeping under bridges, eating from trash cans. People passed him by like he didn't exist. But one morning he found a faded photograph near a dumpster. Two people smiling. One of them looked exactly like him. But it was dated 1972. 3 days later, a black car pulled up, and a stranger whispered, "They've been looking for you." The photo was crumpled, almost ruined by rain, but something about it made him freeze. The man in the picture, same sharp nose, same crooked smile, looked just like him. James hadn't seen his own reflection in weeks, but he knew his face. And there it was, printed in a photo older than his entire life. He kept staring, his hands shaking. Who were these people? And why did he feel a strange pull in his chest, like a memory trying to resurface? That night, he didn't sleep in his usual alley. He sat on a cold bench, staring at the photo under the yellow glow of a street lamp. In the background was a grand house, the kind only rich families lived in. He flipped the photo. Scribbled on the back, barely legible. October 4th, 1972. Home at last. The next day, James tried showing it around, but no one cared. A few shopkeepers shrugged. One man laughed. "You hire something, that ain't you." But deep down, James knew. He didn't have parents, no ID, not even a real last name. He'd grown up in shelters, aged out, and disappeared into the streets. But now this photo was whispering something to him. You belong somewhere. By the third day, something strange happened. A sleek black car rolled up near the soup kitchen where James usually waited. Two men in suits stepped out. Not cops, not social workers, different. One of them walked straight to him, knelt, and showed him a copy of the same photo. "James, we've been looking for you." He froze. "Who are you?" The man's expression was soft, like he was seeing a miracle. "It's time you knew the truth. Your family didn't abandon you. You were taken." James's breath caught in his throat. "We need to talk, privately." He hesitated, but then nodded. The other man opened the car door. As James slid in, he clutched the photo tighter. Every question he'd buried for years was rising again, louder than ever. Who was he? And what was this secret they were about to reveal? The car didn't take him to a police station or some rehab center like he feared. It drove for nearly 2 hours, past city lines, into open countryside, where trees lined the road like silent witnesses. James sat quietly, his fingers trembling as they traced the edge of the photograph. The men didn't say much, just glanced at him with eyes that seemed to know more than they let on. Finally, they turned down a long private driveway. At the end stood a massive estate, aged with time but still regal, like it had history. As the gates opened, James felt something deep in his chest stir, a strange sense of familiarity he couldn't explain. He had never been here, and yet something in his bones whispered otherwise. Inside the mansion, a woman in her late 70s waited. She had a cane, snow-white hair tied neatly, and eyes full of tears the moment she saw him. James stood frozen as she walked up slowly, reaching out with trembling hands. "Is it really you?" she whispered, her voice cracking. "You look just like your father." James's throat went dry. Who are you?" "I'm your grandmother, James. I've been waiting for this day for over 40 years. The room spun. He couldn't process the words. Grandmother? Father? He'd always been told he was abandoned. A nobody. She led him to a room filled with old photos, newspaper clippings, and documents. She explained how, in 1985, his father, her only son, was working with a government agency. He discovered something he wasn't supposed to. Then one day, he vanished. His wife, James's mother, disappeared too. Rumors spread that their baby had died with them, But his grandmother never believed it. She spent decades searching. "They hid you," she said softly, "to protect you. But we never stopped looking." James stared at the files, the photos, the undeniable truth. The man in the photo wasn't just someone who looked like him. It was his father. And he hadn't been abandoned. He'd been hidden for a reason. "But why now?" he asked, still dazed. The man in the suit answered, "Because someone found the photograph. It triggered old protocols. Your father left a trail, just in case. You were never meant to be lost forever." The air grew heavier. James stood silently, trying to breathe through the storm of emotions. Everything he'd believed, his worthlessness, his invisibility, his abandonment, was a lie. He wasn't forgotten. He was stolen, hidden, and now he was found. But there was more. The man continued. "Your father left behind a vault. Only you can open it. There are things in there about what he discovered. It's time the truth came out." James looked at his grandmother. Her eyes held hope, fear, and love all at once. He didn't know what waited in that vault, but for the first time in his life, he had something real. A name, a family, a purpose, and a truth that could change everything. They led James down a narrow stone corridor beneath the estate. Each step echoed with a heaviness he couldn't explain. The air grew colder, the silence thicker. At the end of the hallway was a steel door with an old keypad and a fingerprint scanner. Technology far too advanced for the time his father had disappeared. The man handed James a small device. "Your father embedded your genetic code into this when you were born. It'll open the vault." James hesitated. His hands were shaking again, not from cold, but from the weight of what this meant. With a deep breath, he pressed the device to the scanner. The machine lit up green. Click. The door opened. Inside was a dimly lit room filled with files, tapes, old hard drives, and one thing that caught his eye immediately: a black leather notebook, old but carefully preserved. On the first page was a single sentence. "If you're reading this, son, then they failed to bury the truth." His heart stopped. He sat down and began flipping pages. They weren't just diary entries. They were detailed notes, conversations, and secret recordings. His father had uncovered corruption at the highest levels, powerful men using public programs to launder billions. His parents had planned to go public, but someone stopped them. "They were silenced," James said aloud, voice cracking. The agents nodded. James felt the weight settle deeper. This wasn't just about family anymore. This was about justice. His father had died trying to expose the truth, and now that responsibility had passed to him. He turned to his grandmother. "They killed them, didn't they?" Tears rolled down her cheeks as she nodded. "They were brave, but they paid the price." James clenched the notebook. "Then I'll finish what they started." A massive leak hit the news, files exposing decades of corruption, hidden names, offshore accounts. Government silence was shattered overnight. The world demanded answers, and right at the center of it all, a man once believed to be homeless, standing in front of a sea of microphones. "I was lost, forgotten, but the truth brought me home. This isn't just my story. It's the story of every person who's ever been cast aside. Today, we take that power back." The crowd erupted in applause. His face was now on every screen, but not as a homeless man, as a symbol of resilience, of justice, of truth. Somewhere in a cold alleyway, another homeless man sat, shivering, watching James speak on a store TV screen through a window. For a moment, he smiled. Maybe he too had a story waiting to be found. If this story touched your heart, tell us what moment gave you chills. Drop a comment and let us know what country you're watching from.